Hey everyone, quick question. Are you a quitter? Because in America, we've been sold a very specific story. Winners never quit and quitters never win. It's printed on motivational posters in high school gyms, repeated in graduation speeches, and embedded deep into the culture. But today I want to challenge that idea completely. I want to flip it upside down. Because the truth is, quitters are often the strongest people in the room, and refusing to quit can sometimes be the real weakness. Think about what we glorify. The person who works 80-hour weeks at a job they hate is called dedicated. The woman who stays in a toxic marriage for 20 years is called loyal. The entrepreneur who burns through his savings, health, and relationships chasing a failing business is called resilient. But the person who looks at a bad situation, evaluates it clearly, and decides to walk away, we call that person a quitter, like it's the worst thing someone can be. But here's the truth nobody tells you. That belief system often isn't there to help you grow. Sometimes it's there to keep you compliant, to keep you in the job, in the bad deal, in the losing investment, grinding away while someone else benefits. Let's make this real. Think about college majors. How many people do you know who spent 4 years forcing themselves through a major they hated, racking up massive student loans? Because quitting felt like failure. They pushed through every semester, finished a degree, and then never used it. Meanwhile, their mental health collapsed. Yet society calls that finishing what you started. Or think about professional exams like the LSAT or MCAT. Some people take them 5, 6, even 7 times, spending years of their life and tens of thousands of dollars, not because they truly love the career path, but because quitting would feel like admitting defeat. By the time they finally walk away, they're exhausted and bitter. Those years are gone. Then there are corporate jobs. Someone stays at a company for 15 years. They dislike the boss, hate the work, and get the same tiny raise every year whether they perform brilliantly or just survive. They stay because of the 401k match, the health insurance, or fear of what others might think if they leave. Over time, their motivation fades, but they keep showing up. Their soul quietly leaves a building while their body keeps attending meetings. And relationships. That's another area where quitting is treated like a crime. Society romanticizes couples who stuck it out for decades, even if those decades were filled with unhappiness. But why do we celebrate endurance when the situation itself is unhealthy? In behavioral economics, there's something called the sunk cost fallacy. It's the idea that people continue investing time, money, or energy into something simply because they've already invested so much. Investors do it with stocks that keep falling. Instead of selling at a loss, they hold on hoping the price will recover. Sometimes it never does. People do the same thing in life. Stay in careers, projects, or relationships that no longer make sense, because leaving would mean admitting the earlier investment didn't work out. Smart investors use something called a stop loss. Before entering a trade, they decide on a specific point where they'll exit if things go wrong. No emotion, no hesitation. Just a rule. The most successful people apply the same concept to life. They set boundaries and conditions. If a job becomes toxic, if a business isn't progressing, if a relationship becomes harmful, they walk away. Not out of weakness, but out of discipline. And here's the irony. Quitting strategically is actually difficult. It's easy to keep doing what you're already doing. Inertia carries you forward. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. Walking away requires honesty. It requires facing uncertainty and possibly starting over. It means accepting that others might judge your decision. That takes courage. Interestingly, we celebrate quitting in certain contexts. People who quit smoking or drinking are praised for their strength. Breaking a harmful habit is seen as admirable. But when someone quits a job that drains them or leaves a career path that isn't right, suddenly they're labeled irresponsible. The difference isn't really about perseverance. It's about social expectations. When you look at successful people, quitting often played a crucial role in their journeys. Many innovators and entrepreneurs walked away from earlier paths before finding the one that worked. They recognized when something wasn't aligned with their strengths or goals, and they pivoted. The courage to stop pursuing the wrong thing often opened the door to the right opportunity. Now, this doesn't mean quitting the moment something becomes difficult. Every meaningful pursuit includes challenges. Learning a skill is hard at first. Starting a business can feel like a long uphill battle. Relationships require effort and patience. The real question is whether the struggle is part growth or a sign you're on the wrong path. Difficulty means you're being stretched and improving. Wrongness feels different. It feels like constant resistance without progress. If after months or years nothing improves, if every day feels like the first exhausting day, it might not be a challenge to overcome. It might be a sign to reconsider the direction. It's also important to recognize that systems often benefit when people refuse to quit. Universities benefit when students remain enrolled even if the program isn't right for them. Employers benefit when workers stay in roles they've outgrown because leaving feels risky. Entire industries profit from people continuing down paths that no longer serve them. That's why defining your own stop-loss rules can be powerful. Decide in advance what conditions would tell you it's time to change direction. For a career, that might mean evaluating growth after a certain period. For a business, it might mean reaching specific revenue milestones. For relationships, it might mean establishing clear boundaries about respect and communication. When you define these limits ahead of time, quitting stops being an emotional reaction and becomes a strategic decision. It's no longer about failure. It's about adjusting course based on new information. So the next time someone calls you a quitter, remember that quitting the wrong things can be the very thing that allows you to discover the right ones. Holding on to everything leaves your hands too full to pick up new opportunities. Walking away from a path that doesn't fit might not be the end of your story. It might be the moment your real story begins. If this idea resonates with you, think about one thing in your life that might need reevaluation. Sometimes strength isn't about holding on tighter. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let go and move forward.